everybody, and welcome on out to another edition of the Living Deadwax podcast here on the Living Deadwax channel. Probably didn't need to say that twice, but I am your host, Ty, joined by my co-host, co-moderator, Tyler. We're doing a fun topic tonight that Tyler chose. Tyler, how are you doing tonight? And introduce tonight's topic.
Doing great, brother. A little under the weather, but we're gonna pull it out, and we're gonna make it this the best episode yet. I picked for this episode best opening tracks for a record. Whether it be just your favorite song on the record, whatever, but like set the stage for the rest of the record, the rest of the sound. Whether it be like a first song off the first record, track one, side one, album one, or not, whatever. Just first song on the record, and yeah. There we go.
Yeah, this was a fun one for me because, like we were talking about before we started recording, I was trying to choose stuff that we hadn't talked about ad nauseum before in the previous 20 some odd episodes, so had to think outside the box. It was kind of weird too because I was just like pulling stuff and like, oh, that's a really cool song. Let me listen to it, and then would be like, all right, that's a really cool song. Let me listen to it. So like I was just ranking songs. So it was interesting because I wasn't listening to the full albums, obviously. But this is fun.
Yeah.
I got a decent little stack here we'll talk about. Before we get into tonight's topic, hit the like button, subscribe, leave comments down below, all that good stuff. Anything you do here for us on the channel, we appreciate any type of support. Helps grow the channel. So we're churning out videos weekly. We got vinyl hauls here on the channel. I got the main topic, which we're doing now, and some other stuff as well. So join us, hang out with us. We'd appreciate it. Anyways, Tyler, go ahead and kick us off with your first choice. And I didn't rank these at all. So just kind of.
I also did not rank them. All right. So I do have a couple in here that are just like I had to do them because they are absolutely 100% the favorites. But we'll do it at the end. And I think that you also have a couple, more than likely, that you feel the same way about. At the end, we can mention them as honorables because it's just so fucking. It'd be dumb not to say anything. All right. So first up, one of the first ones I thought about, honestly, was a band called Boxcar Racer. This was Tom DeLonge's side project that he did in 2002. After they did Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, and it's him and Travis Barker, David Kennedy, and Anthony Luongo, I think his name is, possibly. That could be the lead singer of Taking Back Sunday, the first original one. I could be lying to you. Anyway, but they made a new band, and Tom wanted to do new sounds in a new direction, and so he did Boxcar Racer. And the first song off this record is I Feel So, which is also the first single off the record. It's the first thing I ever heard. I remember hearing the song on, I imagine, probably MTV, and seeing the video on TRL, more than likely, because I'm 11 at this point. So I don't really have, we definitely did not have high-speed internet. So I definitely was not on the internet at this point, listening to this or watching the video. But I do remember seeing it on TRL and being very perplexed, and because I'm 11 and I'm wondering, why is Trav, where's Mark? Like, did Blink-182, my favorite band, break up? Like, what's happening here, and not understanding. So I was like really paranoid and really like freaked out. And I remember Carson Daly coming on after the video and talking about like, that's Tom DeLonge, Travis Barker's new band. They're doing before the new Blink record comes out, and this and that, whatever, and explaining the reason why the band exists. And I Feel So, it's basically this like a post-hardcore emo project that Tom wanted to do, very Fugazi, and wanted to kind of explore that range of sounds because he felt that he couldn't really explore that with Blink for whatever reason. And this is actually what led to, more or less led to Blink-182 breaking up the first time. So because Mark didn't understand why you couldn't bring new sounds to Blink. Why would we not just work on your record? And then especially Mark felt even weirder about it because then Mark got on a song called Elevator, which is on this record. And Mark was still at that point felt even weirder about it that he's on the record, but it's not a Blink record. And he's like, why aren't we just doing this? And then Untitled is a very experimental record when you compare it to everything else they've done. And it's a very, you can see the transition from Tom's sounds from Take Our Pants Jacket getting a little serious-ish on that record, and then going into this one even more serious, and then Untitled being completely serious. There's no fun, there's no jokes, there's no nothing on that record. You can kind of see how that all kind of played out. But love the song a lot. I don't know if you have any attachments to this at all, but I remember the video just bombing everything forever, and them playing late night on like Letterman and stuff like that, and just seeing it everywhere for about a summer or so, and then it going away and whatever. And Tom has talked about recently that they might, he talks to Travis all the time. They might want to put work on a new record or something or other, which seems to be a fucking, I don't know why you would do that. You're barely back in the band, so why would you even fucking talk about shit? So you're just making more problems. But Boxcar Racer, 100%. I feel so would definitely recommend if you're not into Blink-182 for them being Blink-182 in the 90s, early 2000s, check out this record because it's very different and it's a lot more serious and louder and fun, or not fun. I don't know, whatever. There you go.
I know very little about the Blink-182 adjacent bands. I know of them.
Wow.
And I know of them through you. So like, could you do like a quick like ranking? Could you rank the side bands right now?
Oh, 100%. So it's Boxcar. It's Boxcar plus 44 Transplants, Angels and Airwaves. No, probably Angels and Airwaves above Transplants, then Transplants. And that's kind of all I'm going to do because Travis does a million things. But Boxcar, the Boxcar record, to me, like if I'm really going to do this with you right now, because Untitled is my favorite Blink record, like unequivocally 100%. The Boxcar record, aside from my first punk song, which is a fucking bullshit throwaway song, aside from that, top to bottom, might be my favorite thing that Tom DeLonge has ever done that doesn't have Blink-182 on it, or that even if it does have Blink-182 on it, I would rank it above Enema. I'd rank it above Dude Ranch. I'd rank it above Take a Ben's Jacket. I love that. I love Tom serious Tom, and not fucking yodeling wannabe U2 fucking delay pedal Tom, all that shit. Like, and I love that first Angel and Airwaves record. I love it. But when Tom's serious and Tom like does good, like is not trying to fucking change the world with whatever the fuck he's trying to fucking accomplish or trying to get across, when he's not trying to do that, he writes fucking cool records. And for my money, this is the second best thing he's ever done. And I think the second best thing the Blink-182 universe has ever done. So to me, but I would definitely think that you would be into it, but you're more of an Enema guy. You're more of an Enema guy.
Oh yeah.
So there might be a happy medium for you in this possibly, but it's a lot more depressing. It's a lot sadder. And so I don't know. Enema's not very sad. It's more fun and everything else. But,
outside of what Adam's song, there's really not a sad song on there.
For sure. Yeah. Like, Don't Leave Me, kind of, I guess if you really want to break it down, like there's a few things like Going Away to College, I guess is kind of sort of like, if you really break it down, but for the most part, that's all a big, up record. And I actually skipped. I was going to have Enema on here for Dumpweed, but I did not do that because I felt like I did too much Blink in prior life.
Okay. So, all right. Well, there's always part 2. We can always bring it back later after you don't talk about them for like 30 episodes. So, all right.
That's true. Very good.
I'm going to do my first one. Again, these aren't ranked or anything. And again, I tried to talk about bands that maybe necessarily haven't talked about a ton, just like Tyler. So I'm going to go with Genesis. Selling England by the Pound is the album. The opening track, Dancing with the Moonlit Night. This is classic Genesis. I mean, you got Peter and the classic lineup: Hackett, Tony Banks, Mike Rutherford, Peter Gabriel. Dancing with the Moonlit Night is just an 8-minute epic opener. It opens with Peter basically a cappella singing, really beautiful intro, good pianos throughout the song. The guitars on this song are ripping. Like it gets pretty fucking heavy. Like you could compare it to like heavy-ish, like late 70s Rush almost. How heavy this is, and it came out in 73.
Wow.
Like Steve Hackett is just doing amazing shit on this song. Really great record too. I Know What I Like in Your Wardrobe. That's the second song. That's probably the biggest song off this record. But yeah, 8-minute opener sets at the scene. Classic Genesis 73, man. That classic lineup. One of my favorite songs from that era of Genesis, for sure. Actually, just picked this up too. It's like last weekend.
Hell yeah.
So this is the Rhino reissue series for 2023, and it's on clear vinyl. And apparently, these all sound really good too. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I haven't spun this pressing of it yet, so that's great fucking album. Really good song. Dancing with the Moonlit Night. Highly recommend it.
I saw, so not so that's Peter. I saw that Mike commented this week, maybe not, maybe it was like this last month or something, I forget. And he said, because they asked about Phil, and he said that Phil's not very mobile anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And because obviously the farewell tour, what have you, just kind of happened, right? But or last year it happened, I guess, right? I didn't know that. I knew that Phil was a bad back. Obviously, I knew that for years. I knew he retired for a minute because he was a really bad back and he couldn't drum anymore. And it was really sad. But I saw that he said that, and then I saw a video. There was I think it was on Instagram, so I saw a video that was attached to it, and I saw that he was just in a chair singing on stage. I didn't know, was that how he did the whole last tour, in a chair, or a lot of a chair in a chair, I guess.
I don't know. I saw some similar videos. I don't know if it's the whole show or like a whole show doing that or the whole tour or whatever. Yeah. I just know Phil. Yeah, he wasn't in a good way. I'm surprised they even got back together to do it.
Yeah.
Because I remember that when he retired, like it was, everybody said he was in a bad way. He did.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect him to do anything anymore. Anyway,
the drum player anymore. So, like he can't even do, like, even if you want to see him do in the air tonight, he can't do it. Like it's just not a thing he can do anymore. And then he was gone for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really drum a lot anymore anyway. Yeah. Like even when like he took over the lead singer, he didn't drum a lot on tours and stuff. They would always have other drummers, like live drummers, session drummers and shit. So yeah, I just don't think that's the issue, like the drumming part of it. I think it's just being in pain and just being on stage 100%. For 2 hours of a Genesis show anyway. So yeah. I mean, they still sound good. I mean, all Genesis to me is they're some of the best musicians ever to ever do it. Yeah. So all I know Steve Hackett's still doing shit. I think he's actually coming here. Be really cool. But yeah, definitely a great fucking band. Highly suggest that song too. Like if you haven't ever dove into any of the Peter stuff, it's a really cool, epic track with some really heavy, great guitar work. Like almost shredding. Like it's really, it's really impressive. Yeah, they were definitely way ahead of their time. That's for damn sure.
I'll put it on my playlist for you. As I do this. All right, I'll do it in a second. All right, so love that. Got another one here. While I have talked with this man or these people before, I don't think I've gone. Maybe I have. I don't know. Whatever the fuck. But one of the biggest records of all time, and I couldn't possibly fucking leave it off this list. Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell. Bad Out of Hell, the lead song. It's a 9-minute epic. So I picked this. I know I've talked about this record before, but I picked this specifically because it's kind of the first record that of its kind. Like it's a rock opera. It's the first thing they ever did. There's no reason why anybody would want to listen to this. There was no name. There's no notoriety with their name. Like no one knew who the fuck Meatloaf was. Like he did some shit with I think he did some shit with like Tina Turner and stuff. I think it was like on Broadway. and he did the Rocky Horror Picture Show too, but on Broadway. But like Jim Steinman was not a name. There's no reason why anybody wants to listen to this. And they made a fucking rock opera record, and they made 3 of them, and everything else that together was much the same. And with a 9-minute opener that starts with the piano and then just fucking explodes with the guitars and shit like that, and it goes you on a whole, you know, oh shit, don't do that. Goes on a whole different, whirlwind of sound and emotion. I love this record. I grew up with this record. My parents are big Meat Loaf fans, and I became a big Meat Loaf fan. I'm the only Meat Loaf fan that I know. I don't know another person in this life that likes Meat Loaf. I know Ty is not a Meat Loaf fan. So like I just know because it wasn't a part of your life. So like I get it.
Yeah.
It'd be a hard thing to get into if it wasn't a part of your life. So like every woman I've ever dated in my life, none of them were ever into fucking Meat Loaf. Like it's whatever, right? So it's like it's just I love this record to death. The top to bottom, there's not a bad song on here, but Bad Out of Hell to open it, and it's 9 fucking minutes. It's 9 minutes. It's fucking insane. Meat's vocals, obviously, he goes fucking crazy with it. He has one of the most grandiose, powerful vocals of all fucking time. I don't know. It's hard to compare his entire package to anybody else. Like he was original. He was an individual. He's never going to be copied. He's never going to be duplicated. Like it just, especially in this era, obviously, like he's still very young, and it's just crazy. So Jim Steinman wrote the entire record, and Meat sang the entire record, obviously, and they were a perfect team. It all worked out, and this is sold, I think, 45 or 50 million copies or something or other. And even though Meat says he didn't make a fucking dollar off this, which I don't know how that works, but he got a little wiry and weird at the end there, but supposedly didn't make a dollar off it, which seems to be criminal, but here we are. Yes. But yeah, if you're into rock operas and just theatrical kind of stuff, would definitely recommend checking this out. Go on YouTube, watch all the videos from the time. There's a bunch of live videos that they put out of the shows, of them doing the theatrical kind of like the stage kind of show, and they're all fucking great. It's just amazing. Meat had his voice for so long. Like I said, at the end, it got real bad, and he was old. He was older. He had a stroke that he didn't want to acknowledge. And he had a lot of back issues, a lot of nerve issues, and he lost it really badly at the end. But this is 76, 75, 77. So 77 until probably 2000, late 2000s, he still had everything. So for 35 almost years, this dude had every bit of it. And that's just something to be commended and just be impressed by. But Meat Loaf, Bad Out of Hell, the song Bad Out of Hell, record Bad Out of Hell, check it out. Fucking love it. It's an all-timer, legendary, everything. Love it.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because you'd think I would be more into that stuff. Like I love epic power metal, proggy stuff. It's very proggy. I don't know. It's just I don't know. I honestly I've just never really given it a shot. So, and I know those songs. Like I know Paradise by the Dashboard Light, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I know the title track. So like I don't know. I guess it just is like one of those things that's always been in the ether. Yeah, I mean 43 million copies worldwide. It's 14 times platinum. I'm looking at the wiki because it's really interesting. You might have known all this, but I never did. Yeah, it's from a musical called Neverland, which is a futuristic rock version of Peter Pan that Steinman wrote in '74. And then they recorded it. They recorded the album 75, 76, released in 77. It also talks about Bruce Springsteen, and that's often compared to the music, which I don't really see the sound.
Well, because Roy Bittan, the keyboardist for Bruce, played on the record, and that was when, if you think about it,
Max.
I'm sorry. Too. Oh yeah, and Max did as well. Yeah. So this is coming off of Born to Run 75. So you're coming off that, and if you kind of think about just the keys especially, that's definitely the keys and the drums. That's what you hear. Those are definitely Bruce characteristics and Bruce vibes, especially coming off Born to Run. So you can hear it if you kind of listen to it in that way.
Okay.
Because the Neverland thing, I think I knew that a little bit because the band's called the Neverland Express, which they're still actually, I believe, I don't know if they ended it because he passed away last year, unfortunately. R.I.P. Meat. But they were going out there and I actually wanted to go see it because it was a sanctioned kind of thing with Caleb Johnson, who I think was American Idol guy, like, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. I don't know if he won, I have no idea. But he's a larger dude, like, kind of was doing the Meat gimmick. And it was a sanctioned tribute band with the original Neverland Express. So you're kind of you're getting the best you could possibly get at the time. And Meat wanted to go out there on the tour dates and kind of introduce it and so like that and be there for it, I guess. And obviously just never had a chance to do it. And I don't know if they're still doing it, but they were for a few years, and then I just never caught it. But yeah,
gotcha. Yeah, good choice. Yeah, you're right. It's definitely something that probably should have never worked and did. But the 70s, like, showing Genesis, like, it could only work in the 70s. Like, if there was ever a time, like, that's when it was going to work. So really 100%. Interesting.
Yeah, because 5 years later is 1982. That would never have fucking flown in 1982 with synths and fucking new wave and fucking everything else that was coming out of the time. You're not going to fucking listen to a fucking rock opera with fucking keyboard, or not keyboards, fucking pianos and shit like that. You're not going to fucking listen to that. It's not going to work out. And there's a reason why. Yeah. There's a reason why Meat there was a lull in Meat's success there throughout the 80s because it didn't work that way anymore.
Yeah, and there's still probably an audience for that stuff, just like there was prog, but it's not going to be 14 times platinum audience.
No. Also, I think a lot with a lot of stuff that you're into, a lot of it's Euro. In Europe, like, they fucking love that shit. So I think in the 80s, I think Meat and a lot of those bands, whatever that maybe worked in the 70s, a lot of those bands never really went out of style over in Europe, or in England especially, because I knew he was massive in England. I think they just have a different appreciation for stuff. But over here stateside, there was definitely, like, throughout the entire 80s, all those records are not necessarily very appreciated. I have them all, and I like them to varying degrees. The singles off them are okay. I have the greatest hits and whatever, right? But, like, there's nothing compares to Bat Out of Hell. And Midnight of the Lost and Found is still pretty cool, and there's stuff. There's glimmers of good stuff in there, but not a lot.
Damn. Gotcha. All right, good choice. I'm gonna go with another fucking gigantic album, but it's a band that we've never really talked about though.
All right.
And it's ZZ Top. Eliminator, obviously Diamond album, sold a bajillion copies worldwide. Give Me All Your Lovin', opening track.
Wow.
Just such
Did not know this song.
Yeah, just such an iconic track. Obviously, the video really helped. All the videos for this album, MTV really helped break them. I mean, they were a big band, but really helped break them to an entire new audience. And, I know a lot of people prefer the older ZZ Top before this because this gets different with the electronic drums and stuff like that. But I absolutely love this record. It's top to bottom great. And then Give Me All Your Lovin', I think it's a really perfect opening track for this record. You know what you're getting into. Such an iconic song. It's one I don't really get tired of either, and I've heard it a billion times. So also Santa Claus, shout out to the Santa Claus. It's in that movie as well. So,
wow. Did not even think about that at all. Good call.
I mean, that's I've seen that movie so many times in my life. Like that's a big connection for me for this song. So ZZ Top, Give Me All Your Lovin' on Eliminator.
Was that a Christmas movie for you guys? Santa Claus?
It was a all year movie for me because I had it on a recorded VHS.
Okay.
From somebody gave it to, like, one of my mom's friends or something gave it to it. I can't remember. I just wore the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Seen that movie so many times. Absolutely love that movie. Still love it. So
still love it. Yeah. I remember that movie a lot too. I just remember, like, being fucking mesmerized by the fact they actually go to the North Pole and they meet what's his name? Dennis? No. It's like, what's the elf's name?
Barnabas.
Barnabas. Well, is that the guy? Is that the he's in stuff too? And now he's a real
isn't
actor.
it Barnabas? Isn't it Barnabas?
It's something like that. Yeah, Barnabas Collins. Fucking Dark Shadows. Yeah, I just remember that, and I remember going just being mesmerized with the fact that like the North Pole existed, and then like they get like hot chocolate and shit and everything else. And just being so stoked on it. Like this is so crazy. I love this.
Bernard.
Bernard, there you go. It's Bernard. Good call. Close. No, yeah, Eliminator. That record's fucking massive, man. And obviously, it's got like 6 singles off that record. I want to say 5 or 6, and all the videos, like you mentioned, all those videos for those 3 or 4 late or early 80s into the 90s records. All those fucking videos were perfect for those records, and they sold so many just based on the videos. And it's really weird to think about that too, because like I don't know, they were probably in their mid 30s.
I mean, they've been a band for a long time at that point, man.
What year is that? 82?
It's 83, recorded 82. 83. So they when did ZZ Top, when were they formed? 69.
60. Okay.
So
they're going up 15 years.
I don't know. Let's see here. Let's see. How old is Billy? Let's do this. Let's get into the fucking weeds tonight.
No, for sure.
Age 73. So born in 49. So what was he in 83?
Jesus Christ, he was 30, 35.
Oh, 34, 35. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I'm great at math. So my point though in that is they're not cool. They're not hip. Like there's no reason why. There you go. There's no reason why those videos should have been so good and like sold so much to the kids, because at 34, 35, you're not hip, you're not cool. Like there's no reason why that should have happened, but they pulled it off so fucking well, and they were hip, they were cool, and everyone bought it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, because I think even in the 80s, like even when they were, chasing that MTV money, they were still true to themselves, like at ZZ Top.
Yeah, for sure. And they did. What's the story on that?
Authentic. So
I would say that. What's the story on that? What's the bad record they got paid like $40 million for?
That's shit. God damn it, dude, you're going in the weeds, brother.
I'm pulling it out of you, man.
Well, after that was Afterburner, and Afterburner sold a shit ton as well. It's like 6 million, so it had a drop off. But because Afterburner was also on Warner, and then
Geffen,
what was the next record? It's Recycler.
I think it's Recycler. I think you're right.
Recycler is on Warner as well. Okay, wait, maybe. No, hold on, dude. God damn it, Tyler.
I know, man.
Yeah, it's a Warner. Maybe it was after Recycler, or maybe they just got that big. I can't remember. Maybe they got that big deal from Warner Brothers, and like Eliminator was it.
Yeah,
Oh, Antenna. It was RCA.
There you go.
So they had Eliminator and then Recycler, which Recycler sold well too. It sold less, but sold well too. And then or Afterburner, and then Recycler even sold pretty decently as well. That was 1990. And then they got a big fucking deal from RCA when they left Warner Brothers, and like I don't think RCA like ever saw any of that money back.
No. Yeah, because they gave him like $40 million guaranteed, and they got none of it back because all those records died. So bad business.
There's probably good. Yeah, there's probably good shit in there. It's just 90s stuff, so it's a weird time for those bands, obviously. So probably wasn't a great investment at the time. Let's put it that way.
In hindsight, no dice, no.
Yeah.
All right. So ZZ Top, love it. Give me all your loving.
Yep.
All right, another one. I've touched on this band before, but I will go ahead and touch on them more in depthly again. So it's gonna be Coldplay, A Rush of Blood to the Head. It's the second record. This is the record it's not cool to like. So I like this record a lot. Parachutes is the one that's cool to like. If it's cool to like Coldplay for anybody, it's cool to like Parachutes, the first record, which I also do like. But this record, it might be my favorite. I don't know. It's very close. But this record, I always have a big appreciation for this record because there's a lot of cool songs on it. But Politic, the opening song on this record, and the whole record, in general, a lot of it talks about their experience with that first record, because Parachute, they recorded that as nobodies. They released it as nobodies. And they played for the first 2 months or so as nobodies. And then they eventually caught on. And within 6 months, 8 months or so, they were headlining Glastonbury in that first fucking year, in that first fucking record. So they went from absolute fucking nobodies to headlining the biggest festival in Europe, or in England. So they talk about, on the record, they talk about just the whirlwind of emotions of people they meet, the experiences they had from coming from nothing to having everything now, and really going over what that means, and what that means to have it. They always wanted it, now they have it. It's all that shit that the bands always do, right? But I just really appreciate the way they address it on here. And Politic is a very cool song. It's Chris Martin. I love Chris Martin's voice. It's very cool piano. Obviously, it's one of his fucking signatures. The guitar work throughout the whole record is really cool. I don't know. I know that Coldplay is not a cool band for a lot of people, but for my money, the first 4.5 records are fucking top tier great. Everything else I can kind of take or leave. It doesn't matter to me. I haven't paid attention for 12 years probably, but for the first 4.5 records, I'm right there with it. And this is no different. And the whole record is great. Obviously, it's Clocks, which is a massive, crazy song. That was my first Coldplay song I ever heard. I think was Clocks. Or Lied to You, Ty. I heard Yellow first. I heard Yellow on Name That Video.
Oh, so cool.
Remember that? Yeah, we've done that show. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw Yellow on Name That Video, and it was somebody was they did the whole thing I can name that video in 4 seconds. I can name that video in 1 second. Name that video, and that whole thing, right? So that was a show on VH1 for the kids that don't know. And so I know somebody said I can name the video in 1 second, and they showed Chris Martin on the beach for the Yellow video, and they showed him for 1 second, and the guy knew it, and they played the next 15 seconds of the video or whatever, right? And I was like, that's a cool song. I didn't know anything about anything. I just knew that in hindsight now. But anyway, Politic, Coldplay, Rush Blood to the Head. This whole record's great. Scientist, Clocks, Politic, Green Eyes. I actually was listening to this earlier, trying to get into this. I didn't realize how much I loved the song Green Eyes, which is not the opening track, but the song Green Eyes, I fucking love that song. I forgot all about it. So if you ever want to get into Coldplay, the song Green Eyes is fucking so good. I love it so much. I forgot all about it, and I'm so happy that I fucking dove back in today and listened to it and just let it play out. And I was like, I fucking love this song. So anyway, Politic, Coldplay, Rush Blood to the Head. There you go.
Nice. First time I ever heard Coldplay, I was in the backseat of Jimmy McGee's Mustang, and they were going to Weiss, whatever, the grocery store. I was with my brother and Jimmy, and they were picking up Jimmy's check or something. Sick. And this is 2000 or whatever, right when it came out. So it's right before we,
East,
a year or so before we moved. And that Yellow was, I don't know if Jimmy put the CD in or it was on the radio. I don't know. It's the first time I ever heard Coldplay. So, and then I remember hearing Clocks or whatever when they blew up, and I'm like, it's the same fucking band. Okay.
Oh yeah. So I remember being obsessed with Clocks because I think we've talked about this before when we talked about Coldplay the other time. But I remember being obsessed with Clocks because there was a Chinese a string orchestra record or something came out, and there was infomercials on TV about it, and they played Clocks, and I thought it was one of the coolest sounding things of all fucking time. And I was like, this is incredible. I want to buy the CD. And obviously I was 12, so I didn't. But I'm still I tried to find it, and I can't really find it. I'm sure if I dove deeper I could find it, but I've casually strolled about the interwebs and have not found it. Was it a Fox body Mustang, or was it the like the 90s, 2000s Mustang.
It was the 90s, 2000s, whatever.
Yeah.
I think he bought it like right when that body style came out, whatever, like 98,
Hell yeah.
maybe 97. When that it was like late 90s, I think that body style came out. But yeah,
you guys are fucking rolling cool. Jesus Christ, fucking
Jimmy,
Mustang.
dude. Nah.
Fucking hey.
Yeah. But he's the type of dude who's like smart with his money too. So like he had cash and shit saved, and I wouldn't be surprised if like that car. That's the type of family they were. So I wouldn't be surprised if they like that car is still in their family. Would not be shocked at all.
Nice.
And it like still ran and shit. So, anyways, I'm gonna go with another 70s classic prog band, but I'm not gonna talk about the 70s. I'm gonna talk about the 80s. I'm gonna go with Yes and 90125 with Owner of a Lonely Heart.
Big.
Just big fucking song. I'm almost positive it's their highest charting song. I mean, really interesting record. Like the history of this record is crazy because, just read the wiki page one night. There was two guys left and they helped form Asia. And who was left? I think it was Chris Squire and Alan White. They were left and they basically formed Cinema. So this was never supposed to be a Yes album. The band was called Cinema. And they recruited Trevor Rabin, he's from South Africa. He's a guitarist, singer, songwriter, to be in the band too. And they brought back the original Yes keyboardist, Tony Kaye, to be in this era of the band. It was originally going to be called Cinema. So the history of this is crazy because they actually went on MTV and like announced this new band as Cinema. And then they got a bunch of cease and desist from a bunch of other bands named that same thing. And then the label was basically eventually too. John Anderson came back, the vocalist too. And when John Anderson came back, the label was just like, just call it Yes. Like you basically have a lot of the band. Just call it Yes. So they called it Yes. But this record is a really interesting history. Owner of a Lonely Heart, it's the band's biggest song. I absolutely love this song. I never get tired of it. Just the sounds and the soundscapes that they create on it. Rabin wrote it on the shitter, which is really interesting. Like he wrote the whole song on the toilet.
Nice. Jesus.
Which is really, really interesting. That's the band's biggest song. But obviously, this record is hit or miss with a lot of Yes bands because this is when they completely changed the sound. And we were talking about bands in the 70s that existed in the 70s and then, either didn't exist in the 80s or you adapted.
That's true.
Which this is a big adaptation, and they sold a shit ton of copies. So obviously it worked out. I love this record front to back, but Owner of a Lonely Heart, just a great opener, sets the tone for the album, and it's such a massive song. Great soundscapes, like I said, just interesting guitar work. Everything's really interesting on that song. It's a really impressive pop song because it's really still really progressive. And it's when you listen to it, it's interesting that it ever got its big. Like it went number one. So like it's really interesting that it did that because you listen to it and it is catchy as shit, but it still retains a lot of that Yes DNA that I love. So I don't think any other bands could really pulled this off really well because like Genesis changed completely. And like Genesis would always like have like one like decent prog song on like the Phil records, the 80s Phil records. But like for the most part, they're just straight pop stuff. They're still really talented. But like this record has really interesting shit. And Owner of a Lonely Heart's a really crazy number one song. You would never I would never picture it hitting that. But great fucking song. Crazy story to this album too. Highly recommend interesting wiki read if you're bored one night. So
I just kind of went in there. Yeah, went number one. So that's that has to be the I don't know how many other number ones they ever had, but definitely went number one. It's a very interesting song because like I mean the way it opens, it has all the different like layers to it, and the filter that it has on there, and it has like when it has the drums, it has the opening obviously, and then the opening the filter clicks in or clicks off or whatever, and then it has the fucking drums kick in and the keyboards and everything else. Like it's a very odd song to go number one. Still catchy, like I said, still catchy, still poppy, but it's very weird that like your sister wanted to hear it. Like It doesn't catch me that way. But in hindsight, like, because it's always been a big song for us. Like, it was in movies and stuff. It's been in, like, it was in Vice City, right? So, like, very big song in our lives. But at the time, it is weird that it did get as big as it did, you know. But yeah, cool song regardless.
Another little tidbit too, because after the Drama album, I'm rereading this for like the second time here. Yeah, Jeff Downes and Trevor Horn left. Okay, they left. Yes, they went to form Asia. Okay, so they formed Asia. So Chris Squire and Alan White were just hanging out. They were left with like, what are we gonna do? So before this stuff came in, they were gonna do a band with Jimmy Page called XYZ.
Oh, wow.
So there's even more to this story. So they were gonna do a band with. So it was going to be Chris Squire, Alan White from Yes, and Jimmy Page. And they were going to form a new band called XYZ, which is basically, it's X, Yes, Zeppelin. That was the stupid fucking play on words there. So yeah, that was, then that got shelved and like almost immediately just because of differences in shit and management and stuff. And apparently, according to Wiki, I'd have to look into this, but Robert Plant disliked the material, which I don't really understand what Robert Plant has anything to do with that situation. But like, I don't know if he just called it shit and they're like, oh, it's over now.
We talked about before, so like, I don't know. I love Zeppelin, but I'm not a biographer of Zeppelin necessarily. But whenever I kind of look into shit, it always kind of sounds like Jimmy is like, especially in those years, Jimmy was very much so wanting to keep on good positive levels with Plant because like, so I didn't know this until like somewhat recently, where like the feud started from. Jimmy didn't go to Robert Plant's son's funeral when Robert Plant's son died.
We've talked about that. Yeah,
we've talked about this. Yeah, so that was the start of the feud, and then they did Into the Outdoor, and it obviously the band ended because Bonzo, whatever, right? So at that point, pretty much is when Plant turned off, and then Page has been kind of trying for years to like get back into Plant's like good graces, let's say, and that's why like when we talked about Coverdale Page, when he was doing that shit, and his manager warned him not to tour the U.S. with Coverdale Page because he was thinking that maybe Plant was going to call him, and then so Page told Coverdale, "Yo, let's go to Japan." When the Coverdale was like, why don't we just do the tour? You know, why don't we just do a fucking tour? And then Page is like, well, let's do Japan. And that was just because Plant was going to call Page maybe. And he did. He ended up calling him. They did the Page Plant records, No Quarter and all that stuff. They did all those records, right? But, the 2 records. But, so Page has basically like been low-key Plant's like bitch boy for... years on years. So if Plant didn't approve of something Page was doing, it probably was something Page didn't want to piss Plant off or like unimpress him or something or other, and be like, well, Plant doesn't like it. I don't want Plant to think I'm a fucking played out weirdo, so I'm not going to do this. That's why like Plant's on the Outsider record when Jimmy did that. He's on that record. And then Jimmy did the Death Wish records and stuff like that. Like he did other like he did other soundtrack work. But I think that Page really wants Plant's approval. So if Plant was not into it, Page not into it. Yeah. So I think that
makes more sense now. Gotcha. Yeah. Makes more sense now. They don't elaborate it at all in the article. So all right.
Yeah. That's me connecting dots. But
that makes sense.
If you're a massive Zeppelin's fan and and I'm wrong, please feel free to correct me in the comments. I'd love to know more. So there you go. Love it.
Definitely makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So another one here. A band we have not talked about, I don't think, the entire time we've done this. So it's going to be a band, Tears for Fears, Songs from the Big Share. Shout is the opening track on here. Yeah, this is the Japanese pressing. I want to say it's a little later Japanese pressing, but I was stoked to find this. I don't remember when or where, but I might have bought this on eBay possibly. I don't remember. But because if I didn't buy it with you, you don't remember me buying this, do you?
No.
Yes, I think I've ever seen it. Oh wow, okay. Yeah, so there you go. So Tears for Fears, obviously massive fucking band in the 80s. So this is 1984, 85, 84. So coming off The Hurting, Shout is not necessarily a departure from that, But this record is a much more bombastic, loud, huge production record in comparison to The Hurting. And I think Shout is definitely a good indicative, opening track to that. This whole record's great.
Yes.
There's what, fucking four huge singles off this record. Shout, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Head Over Heels, and I think The Working Hour also was a single. So fucking good. It's my favorite Tears for Fears record. I got in a big Tears for Fears phase like 4 or 5 years, no, longer than that. I want to say like maybe 8 years ago. I was still working down on Dunlap on the TRICARE contract. I remember that. I was obsessed with Head Over Heels because I had never heard that song, I'd probably heard it, but I had never heard it in context of Tears for Fears for some reason. And I think I told you that.
Donnie Darko?
Exactly. That's exactly what you said. It's exactly what you said. And I've never seen Donnie Darko. I've never seen it. So it's not my bag, right? So like I dove in really hard and I listened to that continuously. And then later they did the 30th anniversary Super Deluxe like the next year. So yeah, 2014 they did the Super Deluxe. I remember just diving into that and just putting that on fucking repeat. And then for years I've looked for cool copies of it and stuff like that. And we did find one once with the cellophane hype sticker on there, but then it disappeared within like a minute or so. I forget. Do you remember that story?
I do.
We went to the Revolver, and then we came back around, and it was gone, and nobody was in there, and whatever. It was weird. So the guy grabbed it or something. I have no idea. But yeah. So anyway, so Shout's a cool song. It's not my favorite song on the record. I think Head Over Heels is my favorite song on the record. But Shout is a really, really cool, loud, like I said, bombastic production track. I don't know, man. I think that they were ahead of their time. I mean, they sound like the 80s. They do sound like that, but they were still current with their sound for years and years and years to come. I don't think that when you hear this, I don't think that you hear 1984. Like, I don't think that you go there immediately.
No.
It could have came out at any point in time, for the next 10 or so years, 15 years.
Yeah.
Tears for Fears, the first 3 records are fucking great. They're the ones I really dove into. I still need to pick up a new one. I've told you that multiple times, and I've said no to the Target pressing we found before at Zia a few times, and I've said no to it. I need to do that eventually at some point. But so Tears for Fears, Shout, Songs from the Big Chair. Fucking get into it if you haven't already. There you go.
Yeah, good choice. One that I didn't even think about, but very good choice.
Yeah, I honestly, like, I was looking through my Discogs and I was like, I think it's Shout, and I clicked on it. I was like, what's Shout? And I was like, oh shit. I was like, that's one of the biggest songs ever. So that's a fucking insane, stage setter for the rest of the record and for the rest of the era for them for sure. So
yeah,
there you go.
I'm just gonna keep it right within the same realm I was in on my last choice. Let's just go with Yes Again. Fragile, 71, leads off with Roundabout. So I went from Owner of a Lonely Heart, which is their biggest selling song, to Roundabout, which is probably their biggest song. But Roundabout's just, man, it's such a good fucking song. I never get tired of hearing it, man. The bass, like Chris Squire in that song is just fucking ridiculous, man. And like you really hear a lot of Geddy in that, so you can tell how much Yes Rush was listening to. Because Chris is Geddy's favorite bass player. Cool thing too to watch the Yes induction, because Geddy plays with them, because it's after Chris passed, so Geddy plays Roundabout with him. So probably a really sick moment for him. But just the classic lineup of the band, one of the biggest prog records ever. But Roundabout, such a great fucking song. I think everybody knows Roundabout, even if you're not even into any type of prog or rock or any type of like classic rock at all. Like I think everybody, like if you play GTA, you know the song. So such a big
School of Rock fan, you know the song.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, I listened to the bass solo on Roundabout, which is funny because like the whole thing's almost a bass. just listen to the whole song. Great fucking song, great band, man. Some of the most talented dudes around. And Yeah, and it became a meme too, because it's always in the to be continued shit from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the anime. Never
Oh,
watched the
nothing.
anime, but you know these videos. Um, so like it would end with a to be continued. It's like something would happen, and then like roundabout would just start. And apparently they did that in the show, so people started using that as a meme.
Oh, I didn't
So
know.
yeah,
I got nothing for you.
yeah, yeah. Just look up
Interesting.
roundabout meme, and you've probably seen the shit before. They've done it a
Okay.
lot with CJ from
San Andreas?
Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, San
Yeah.
Andreas. Like the Here We Go Again. You've seen that meme, right?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I've seen
Okay.
those combined actually.
Okay.
So it's a
Interesting.
little Inception
Yeah.
action going on. But yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never seen that. I mean, we talked about before. Prog, definitely a musician's, you know, a musician's genre, a musician's bands, and I think Roundabout is definitely a musician's song. Like I think that not that it can't be appreciated by anybody because it can, but like I think like you just hear different shit when you're so fucking evolved and like there's so much craft work going into that kind of shit for a lot of
Yeah.
prog bands, but also for Roundabout in particularly.
Yeah. Yeah,
For
I'm
smart.
not a musician, but I just appreciate from the fact that, like we talked about before in previous episodes, like I just love listening to shit from people who are like the peak of their shit. Like,
Oh yeah.
that's why I watch sports, and that's why I appreciate great actors and shit and directors and stuff. Like you're at the peak of your profession. Like I'm always fascinated by that shit. So
No, for sure, 100%. Yeah, good fucking choice. Fucking yes, Roundabout. Fucking A, man.
there you go.
All right. I got one here. I have not talked about this. Well, I think I have talked about this band once. I think I have.
Oh.
But here we go. The Used in Love and Death.
Hmm.
Opening song is Take It Away. The song is so fucking cool. I listened to this record first before I listened to the first record. Because this record came out in 04 and the first record came out in 02. I was not old enough to get that first record. But this one, I got a burn CD. I think I've told you the story before, maybe not. But I traded the format CD for burn copies of the used CDs and also Census Fails CDs, burn copies of them. I traded the real CD for burn copies of CDs. And so this girl, Stephanie. And so anyway, so she brought me the copies of this. And I listened to this one first. And it was my first introduction to the band. And it's fucking crazy. So basically, the song opens, the album opens with a voiceover. It's an old sample from, I don't know what it's from like maybe a religious record. But it says like what you're about to hear are words handed down from God or something on those lines, and then you hear a fucking shotgun fucking cock and then fucking go off, and then when it fucking pulls the trigger, it busts into the song. It sounds so fucking cool, and then the song just goes immediately 0 to 60. It just sounds so awesome. That was my first. I didn't know it was going to happen, so I remember hearing in my headphones, and I remember like not knowing what was going to happen. So I was listening. I was like, "What is this weird?" And then when I clicked in, I just blinked really hard, and it was the most loudest shit I've ever heard. And I was like, "This is insane!" And I was all blown away. But it kind of introduced you to the whole record. I think this is their biggest record, if I had to say, their biggest selling record. It definitely went platinum, and it kind of set the stage for the next. Their first record too, but this one especially because there's a lot more sound and there's a lot more dynamics to it. There's a lot more experimentation. Also, I did not know this until today. I actually looked this up. A lot of this record's about Burt McCracken, lead singer. He writes about because he used to do meth and stuff, but he also lost his girlfriend who was pregnant with his child. Lost her during this record on an overdose, and he wrote about that and wrote about his best friend also ODing. And so a lot of this record's about his struggles with substance abuse, and then obviously his loved ones in his life or whatever, right? And it's just a really, really, really dark record, and it's a really hard record to listen to, especially like if you're in a bad way. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a good record to listen to. I don't know, right? When it's sad and you're depressed, but it's definitely one of my first real depressing records I ever really got into, and I definitely posted a lot of MySpace and AIM away messages and stuff with these lyrics on there. The first two, maybe three used records are fucking timeless. I love them. I can never get enough of them. I've seen them play them live full through a couple times, and they still sound good. All these years later, everybody's sober and clean and good, and it's good. Nice to hear. But in the time, especially being 13 and being a wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, taking all this in for the first time, just fucking incredible to hear that. And definitely, just like I said, with them and MCR kind of ushered in the next 5 or so years of the emo, post-hardcore, whatever we want to call this era, mid to late 2000s. So take it away, opening song, In Love and Death, The Used. Super cool. Love it. Can never get enough of it. Check it out if you haven't already. There you go.
Nice. Yeah, we had talked about them before because we talk about the Osbournes, but
yes,
because that's like my big connection to the Used or whatever. But
yes,
but yeah, good choice. Bringing out some different shit, so that's nice.
Yeah, the I forget what his fucking the whole thing was his nickname, and his nickname was like something gnarly, and that was like the point of like him being on the Osbournes was like I remember.
Well, he was dating Kelly, so
correct. So he's dating Kelly, and Jack walks in because Kelly wants to bring him over to the house, and and she doesn't want anybody to meet him though. And so when it's revealed that she's dating this guy in a band, which obviously Ozzy and Sharon are like dating a band guy, whoo, right? So Jack is like when she's trying to like say he's gonna come over. Don't be weird. I don't want you guys to meet him. Don't say anything to him, Dad, and this and that, right? Jack walks in and goes, "You know what his nickname is, right?" And she's like,
I remember
that.
Yeah.
And his nickname's like something gnarly. It's like something like I don't know, like something real weird, like rabbit fucker or something, like just something real weird. And
Kelly begins dating Burt McCracken, lead singer of the band The Used. Sharon worries after hearing some stories about Burt. They call him Cauliflower Dick.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Okay, not rabbit fucker. Yeah.
Interesting.
So not great. Not a great deal.
Probably not. No. Yeah.
I never want to be called cauliflower anything, really, honestly. But cauliflower dick is not one that I want associated with myself either. So yeah, not good.
All right, I'm gonna go with a band here that I've talked about it quite a bit, but one of the bands that immediately came to mind, actually, this is Thin Lizzy with the album Jailbreak, opening track, title track, Jailbreak. Obviously just a fucking iconic song. It's one of the band's biggest songs, but I never get tired of hearing it. It still gets played on the radio constantly. That and The Boys Are Back in Town, which is also on this record. But obviously just a fucking stellar record front to back. But the band's at peak form here. It's the classic lineup of the band. And Jailbreak's such a fun opener. And like it sets the tone for the rest of the album. Not that there isn't serious songs on here, but it sets the vibe really well, which I appreciate. And it's such an iconic song. Like I had to pick a few obvious ones, and this is definitely obvious. If we ever do favorite closers, this will also be on here too. Emerald is the fucking stellar track. Probably the best track on the album.
Song. Wow.
Emerald is really good. I mean, this whole record, you got Cowboy Song, The Boys Are Back in Town, Jailbreak. Those are the big songs off the record, but the whole fucking record's absolutely stellar. So yeah, released in '76, man, and they're one of the fucking coolest bands going. And I absolutely still love Jailbreak. Still never change the radio when it comes on, and it's always a good time. Always a good time.
Yeah, they're one of those bands that like I know it's like them. I mean, there's a handful and a half. There's a bunch of bands, right? But they're one of those bands that over in Europe are fucking legendary next level kind of acts that just didn't make the same dent over here. Like it's a lot of Boys Are Back in Town and some Jailbreak, but it's over there. They're appreciated on a whole different level. Obviously, they're from Ireland, so I get it. But the appreciation is not as dire as it is, over there as it is here, or over here as it is there. and I know there's always a big push for them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and
Yeah, obviously.
yeah, and then nothing comes of
Yeah.
it, right? But I know that's always
Yeah.
a big push.
Yeah, they're also very influential to like so many bands. So
No, yeah,
beyond just the commercial sales or lack thereof or whatever, depending on what you think of, like just the influence of them on other music is astronomical. So yes,
yeah.
they should have been in right away. So it doesn't make
They're
any
one
sense.
of your favorite bands is favorite bands. That's what it is. For sure.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
All right. So I got one more here. I have 3 obvious ones that I think are honorables. And I have one more that I'm going to call like whatever, like something we haven't talked about a lot. So okay. I didn't necessarily know what the first song on this record off the top of my head was. And then I was like, what is it? And because I knew it had to be impactful. And I just slipped my mind. I looked it up. Rage Against the Machine, first record, Bomb Track. So it's the 3rd single off the record. So it's not the first song you ever heard, but it's the first song you heard on the record. It's at the stage, obviously, for what Rage was. Killing the Name was the first song, or the first single. But if you had just picked this up and you didn't really know anything about Rage and you didn't know what they were going to be into or they're going to, talk about or, be about, Bomb Track is definitely a good table setter to really get you into it. They obviously get very political very quickly. Tom Morello's guitars are fucking insane. The sound that he gets out of the guitar, especially back then, like there's a reason why on these records, it always says that all these sounds are created by guitar. There's no scratches, there's no sampling, there's nothing. Like it says that on the fucking the liner notes, whatever, because people didn't understand how Tom was making those sounds. And this gives you a really good fucking taste of that and taste of what was to come, obviously, over the next 10 years or so for the band, or I don't know, 8.5 years or so, whatever, right? But I've always been a big Rage fan. I didn't hear much Rage until later because obviously I was young. But the first record, I mean, for my money, probably the best, probably my favorite record. But the other ones obviously have the huge singles too. But top to bottom, I think this one has the most, you take the most out of it. But Killing the Name, Bomb Track, Bullet in the Head, obviously, Know Your Enemy, Wake Up, Fistful of Steel, Freedom, fucking insane track listing here. Also, obviously the album art is really fucking atrocious. So there you go. And by atrocious, I mean like shocking, like crazy.
Yeah, I get you.
But yeah, so Rage Against the Machine, Bomb Track, track 1, side 1, fucking A.
Yeah, I was exposed to Rage like at a much younger age. Josh, always appreciated him, and I've heard that conversation about the scratching many times because Mike would always say they got the scratching on the record, and Josh would always have to say, "No, it's just playing guitar, brother."
Nice.
Yeah, they're a band that I've gotten very tired of. Like I do not listen to them hardly. I turn the songs off.
Yes, you do.
They're very overplayed. Yeah, they're very overplayed for me, and I don't necessarily agree with all of their politics either, which is whatever. They can be. I'm not ever going to say a band can't be political. I don't give a shit because basically all music is political, even if it's not political to me, because music business is inherently political. So it is what it is, whether you're singing about politics or not. But my thing is, like, if you're going to be a communist, just be a real communist and not a fake communist. So I'm not a communist fan anyway. Like, I don't like communists. So, like, I would just prefer you to actually be real communists and not appreciate the fruits of all your capitalistic endeavors and then, still be weird.
Dabble other places, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my rage rant. But I honestly appreciate Tom and shit. Anyways, all right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with another '90s album here. So sticking in the '90s, but a bunch of different bands. I'm gonna go with Sabotage.
Ooh.
With Edge of Thorns is from '93, and the title track is the lead track, Edge of Thorns. Really epic, cool track. We talked about Meatloaf earlier, and like you would probably if you like Bat Out of Hell so much, you might appreciate like a lot of the '90s Sabotage because it's all rock operas. Like that's all it is.
Ooh, I do like that.
Like they got very Queen inspired, and I could definitely, like you said, Meatloaf, like that triggered me too. For like this era records for Sabotage. I absolutely love all like the '90s stuff. Hall of the Mountain King is probably my favorite album, but I do appreciate all this stuff quite a bit too. The production's on it's always stellar. This is the first record with Zachary Stevens singing. John Oliva had basically retired from the band. He ended up coming back later and singing, but he retired, but he still wrote songs. He's just not singing on the album. And it's the last album that Chris Oliva plays guitar on before he tragically passed away. He passed away like 6 months after the release of this album in a car accident. So it's a little different because Zachary Stevens is a different singer than John. John's like way more shrieky and like in way more in that upper register. Zachary Stevens is, but I don't know, it's just a different vibe, different sound. But yeah, Paul O'Neill got in and wrote. This is when he was like really heavily involved in the band too, and writing and producing a lot of their shit. So yeah, really cool bands. If you never dove into Sabotage, they got a vast history, vast catalog. A band that I've gotten into like the last 2 or 3 years, and a lot of cool stuff. Edge of Thorns, really cool track. Great vocals, really cool piano. Has a really cool like gallop to the riff too, which I really appreciate. And this is a great album too. Edge of Thorns. Check it out by Sabotage.
Yeah, and they get heavier too. So it's a heavier rock opera, I would assume, right?
Yes, yeah, they're pretty. I wouldn't really call them metal. They're more just hard rock at this point, but it's definitely progressive rock opera-ish. Like the album before this is Streets, and it's Streets, a rock opera. Like that's the title of the album.
Oh, okay.
So all the albums are, they're all story-based concept records, and it's definitely has that Meatloaf Queen vibe through a like metal progressive lens. Very different than anything else that was going on, especially in the fucking 90s.
Yeah.
So
they're also another fun fact for you, because I was looking up the Wikipedia. The opening piano riff to the title track was used extensively in the MTV reality series The Real World San Francisco during scenes involving the hospitalization of Pedro Zamora, who was going through AIDS treatment at the time. So,
oh shit. Okay.
There you go. So Sabotage, part of real world history there.
You got the real world rub. Good for them.
Yeah, they did. The real world AIDS rub. That's the rub they wanted to get for sure. There you go.
Definitely.
Yeah, sold the records. All right. So very cool. I got 3 more. These are all obvious ones, so whatever, it's fine. But I had to do it because I had to do it. I'll start off and get Ty mad. So it's fine. So not mad, but got the Doors first record, Break On Through, first song, the first song to set the stage for the rest of the record and the career of the band. Just fucking insanity. Jim's vocals obviously on it, his storytelling on it. It's very creepy. I don't know, man. I don't know how I would have taken it if I would have heard this in the moment, in the time. But I always view it as one of the more risque records, and people of the time kind of say that, so I believe them, I guess. But I don't know, risque, but like dangerous. I don't know what to say. I don't know the right words, but just not like, yeah. So you know what I'm trying to get at, right?
They were like, it's like Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of similar vibe. Like Appetite is pretty dirty. It's a dirty album, but like I get what you're saying. Like that's the comparison I have. Like
especially this is 66, right? So 66, 67. This is Beach Boys era, right? This is Beatles.
Yeah.
This is
you're
all that.
Pre-Sabbath,
Exactly, Zeppelin. Pre Purple, pre everything, right? So it's like, or not everything, but everything, that sound, that kind of that weird darker kind of imagery maybe. So for them to come in and have this fucking song and this record, just fucking next level, just really weird, creepy, push the fucking envelope a little bit. And the whole record, I think, just kind of changed the game. And I don't know, man. I can never get enough of it. I never get sick of the Doors. I never get sick of the first record. I never get sick of any of the Morrison records at all. But when I thought about this again, I went to a few immediate ones in my head, and Break On Through was one of the ones I went to instantaneously because I was like, that's a hell of a fucking opening track to really introduce this fucking band to the world, and to really show what the next 10 years, that's not true at all, not 10 years, the next 7 years are going to be like with this band. Or I guess, 50 years now, but it is what it is. But there you go. The Doors, Break On Through. Boom.
Alrighty. I'm going to go with a band that I've never talked about on the channel, which is kind of surprising because I do.
Ooh.
I do still very much love this band. And I'm going to go with the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, there you go.
The album is Californication. The song is Around the World. This is obviously the the comeback with John Frusciante, and Around the World opens with Flea just fucking ripping on bass, and then you get John coming in, and then you get Chad, and then you get Anthony. So it's a really cool intro to the album, and it's cool because you get that really sick Flea intro, and then you hear John. So like the tone is set like, okay, John's back in the band. Mm-hmm. Like this is different. One Hot Minute's a great fucking album, but like John has a different style of playing than Dave Navarro, and different tone, and brings just a totally different vibe when he is in the Chili Peppers. And I think Around the World really sets the stage for what you're getting on this kind of a comeback record, I guess. Obviously a gigantic fucking album, and all tons of fucking singles, but I really like Around the World, and it's definitely one that came to mind too, because I'm like, I gotta talk about Chili Peppers eventually. So not my favorite album by them, that would be By the Way, but definitely not my opening track either, but a fucking great song. So Around the World, yeah, Chili Peppers.
I've always just loved that cover art for sure. I just love there's the deep colors that's on there. Just I don't get over that. Like I can never get over that. And I've used that as like backgrounds on computers before so many fucking times because I just love the way that it looks, and I just love the way that it's, I just love how they play off each other. Just super into it. Californication, cool record. Definitely a return to form, I guess, in terms of their sound. It was 5 years, right, between that and One Hot Minute, right? Or is that 99 to 94?
One Hot Minute's 95, I think. So about 4 years.
Yeah. And John quit in like 92, right?
It's like 93, something like that. Yeah, it's
like 5-6 years. That's crazy. Yeah. And he's been out 3 times now, right? Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a fucking massive record. It's crazy to fucking think about Chili Peppers like that because they have such a long career and they're still so relevant, and they're kind of almost on their own with that because they keep putting out records that fans are still super into, and the new records they put out, they're gonna put out fucking 9 records in the next fucking year or some shit or whatever it is. So whatever. But every time they come back with a new record, all the fans are super into it. And I think you, to varying degrees, are always into the new records when they come out. And I know Josh is usually pretty balls deep into all of them. Yeah. They're a really incredible band when you think about that because they have the longevity, they have such a fucking deep discography, they have such a loyal fan base, and their sound is very, very their own. They're very, very just nobody. There's not a band that you hear and you go, "That's fucking Chili Peppers." That's not a thing. And if there is a band like that, I haven't heard them. Maybe there's people smarter than I am, but no one goes, "That's Chili Peppers." That's a big Chili Peppers, fan band, right? It's not a thing. And Californication, just fucking. I think it's a diamond record too. Just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Fucking
ginormous.
All right. So I got two more of the obvious ones, but it is what it is. Talk about this before, but I'm gonna talk about it again because it's just fucking legendary. The Who, who's next? Bob O'Reilly. So obviously, this is their I don't know if their biggest song, but it's a song your sister knows. It's a song everybody in your family knows. It's it's very different from anything else they ever did before, with the programming, the fucking synthesizers, everything that Peter Townsend was getting into at the time, and writing, just fucking next level shit. The twists and turns in the song, the bombastic guitars, the storytelling in that. Roger's vocals obviously are just fucking crazy. Rogers had such a strong voice during this era of the band. He always kind of did. He didn't really necessarily lose it. Obviously, he's older now. It's a little softer, but he still has a little bit of the bass in there, I guess. But this everybody's really young, still just fucking killing on every fucking level. And I don't know. The first time I ever heard this song, I was probably 5 or 6 years old. If I really thought about it, just driving with my dad and being on the radio because it's playing the radio constantly, and it was back then too. And my dad would just fucking crank it up, and he was a big Who fan, so just fucking crank it up. And then he would tell me, just every time, he would tell me the song's called Baba O'Reilly, not called Teenage Wasteland. Don't say that. That for some reason was very important to him that I did not call it Teenage Wasteland because every other fucking loser did. So that was instilled upon me. And then I remember asking my mom later when I first started getting into my dad's records when I was like 12 or something, 11. I pulled out his turntable and I started listening to this stuff and hooking things up or whatever. And I remember I asked her, I was like, "What's that song called?" And she's like, "What song?" And I was like, "That Who song, like the song with the things and like the Teenage Wasteland. That's not the name of the song. Like, what is it called?" And she's like, "I don't know what are you talking about?" And I was like, she's like, "I think it's called Teenage Wasteland." And I'm like, "It's not." And me and my dad were not talking at the time, so I remember like fucking like going and just playing with shit, and then like putting on the record and like, "Oh, this is it. Okay, cool." And finding it just like I didn't even know the record. I didn't know the album like artwork. I didn't know anything. I just knew the Who, so I just found the Who record and I just got lucky and like I picked it out. But yeah, that's the legendary opening track of the Who. Who's next? Bob O'Reilly. Fucking crazy. There you
go. Quick question here. What is the movie or show or whatever?
CSI.
No, obviously. That's not what I'm talking about. No, the line is, do you think the Who gets tired of playing or they don't practice Teenage Wasteland? And then the guy's like Bob O'Reilly. The other guy's like Bob O'Reilly. Maybe it's Freaks and Geeks.
Might be Freaks and Geeks. Yeah, I don't remember.
But the kids like they're like practicing a band, and he's like, "We gotta practice. Do you think the Who doesn't practice Teenage Wasteland?" And then I think it's guy from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Jason Segel. I think it's Jason Segel in there. He's like Bob O'Reilly, and the other kid's like, "What?" And he's like, Bob O'Reilly. The song's called Bob O'Reilly. And then that's fine.
I need to watch Freaks and Geeks again or rewatch it because I watched it once and I wasn't really taking it in very much. I still have Josh's box set. So Josh, you're watching this. I still have your DVD box set. Don't worry about it. I didn't get rid of it. It's still on my shelf about 11 feet away from me. So don't worry about it. Still got it safe. So if you ever wonder, Josh, where it was, I got it.
I guarantee you didn't know that. But there you go. Maybe
so if you want it back, Josh, let us know and I'll think about it.
Comment down below, Josh, if you want it back.
Yeah, I want it back.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go into one of the other biggest fucking records of all time. Pearl Jam 10 with Once. Just opens this classic fucking album up, sets the stage for what's coming. Yeah, I mean it's played to death. This whole album is, but I don't really get tired of it, man. It's still just a fucking banger of a song. Not my favorite song. Probably Black's my favorite song of the album, but Once is a really heavy, fucking cool opening track, and sets the stage obviously too. Because it'd be a really interesting thought process, like if you're following the band, like if you're following Mother Love Bone, and Andy dies, and then they get Eddie in the band and shit, and they did Temple of the Dog first, so like that's your first taste of Eddie, but then on Hunger Strike. But then this drops. So like Once is the first thing probably the majority of the world's hearing of Eddie Vedder.
Yeah.
And pretty interesting to think about because it's obviously a gigantic album and a gigantic song and single. So kind of interesting concept, but a great fucking song that lives up. It lives up to the hype, and it's still as good today. Don't get tired of it.
100%. I mean, all those songs off of 10 get played to death. But I don't get sick of them, man. Like I don't turn them off. Like I can hear Even Flow, I can hear Once, I can hear Black, I can hear Alive, I can hear all that shit a million times and kind of be okay with it, you know, and not really think twice about it. I still really enjoy the record. I still really enjoy those songs, and obviously Eddie's lyrical, you know, lyrical stylings on that record. If you know the words, which you got to look them up a lot, you do, but you know they're pretty tragic for a lot of those songs, you know, Jeremy and whatnot, and Alive. So you know, pretty intense shit, but very good pick. And definitely a game changer at the time. And before pre-Nirvana, pre-Nevermind, just for the record, came out before Nevermind.
Yes, sir.
Just so we're all clear. Not a lot of people know that. So there you go.
Yep.
All right, last one I got here. You can crank out all your ones after this that you got pulled out. But my favorite song of all time, off of one of my favorite records of all time, by my favorite artist of all time. It's one, Bruce Springsteen with Thunder Road. This was definitely if I was going to rank them, this is the one. This is number one. It's my favorite song of all time. I have such a deep love and relationship with Thunder Road. I came into that probably the end of high school or so, and I got really into Springsteen, and especially that first apartment. I remember fucking just really listening to fucking Thunder Road and listening to Bruce just nonstop and downloading all that shit off the Ignition internet, and really, hell yeah, shout out Ignition. Good services there. But yeah, just getting really deep into it, and it's a beautiful song. Bruce obviously on the keys, and just top to bottom, the whole thing is it's the great story telling, great lyrics. Bruce's voice is fucking top tier. This is the make or break record. This is his third record. It's the one that had to be big, and he spent fucking a year and a half working on it straight, and he spent 6 months working on Born to Run by itself, the song, and Thunder Road leading it off with the keyboard, or the piano I guess I should say, and just fucking great, man. I also once wrote the entire lyrics from my mind, wrote them on my mirror when my ex-girlfriend and I, when she left for some reason, I don't remember, but we didn't break up. She left, and I was really missing her. And for some reason, I wrote the entire lyrics on our bathroom mirror, because she was like living with us. And so I remember I forgot that I did that. And so I went to Discover. And so she came home, and Zach was home, whatever, right? And she came home, and then she went in the bathroom, and she saw that I wrote the lyrics with I don't know if I wrote it with an eyebrow pencil. I have no fucking idea how I did it, whatever. But I wrote every word to Thunder Road on the mirror, and she was like, "What the fuck?" And she thought I was really touching. I don't know. She was into it, so I was a complete weirdo. But I don't know why I did that. Really, I was in my feelings, and I just Thunder Road was the one. And plus I've wanted to get It's a Town Full of Losers, but I'm pulling out of Here to Win. I want to get that tattooed on me for fucking goddamn 15 years now or something or other. And I don't have any tattoos, and I don't know if I'll ever get any, but if I was to get any, it's that one, among other Bruce lyrics probably. But yeah, so fucking Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run, Thunder Road, love it.
Nice. I've got like 5 more, but I'm just gonna do one. I'll say we'll do a part 2 of this eventually someday. Okay. So I'll save the rest of them. I'll do a band that neither of us really talk about. They're one of the fucking biggest bands in the world, but I pulled it. It depends on the day, but this is probably my favorite album by this band. It really depends on the day. It's either this or one other one, but I'm gonna go with Pink Floyd. Albums "Wish You Were Here," "Shine On You Crazy Diamonds" Part 1 through 5. Kind of a cheat. But 13-minute opening track, but it's absolutely fucking stellar. Yeah, like I said, it's probably my favorite album. This or The Wall, probably my favorite Floyd albums, like that classic lineup, I guess.
Yeah,
but depending on what you consider classic, because I know some people don't think they made a good album after Sid left, which whatever.
yeah.
But anyways, yeah, obviously it's dedicated to Sid Barrett, and a really touching song, really powerful song. Great lyrics, just great writing, all around great fucking musicians, and a band we don't talk about at all, really hardly at all. I think they got mentioned once, maybe. I think you mentioned them on live albums, I think. But
Ooh, that's possible, yeah.
Yeah, just a stellar fucking track, and part of a really great album too, which helps. But really sets the tone for this album, and 13 minutes of fun. Like you don't get bored of it. Listen to it. It's really really well done.
Yeah, for sure. I don't. I have a weird memory of that. Like I remember listening to that with my dad at some point, being a kid, and being like confused as to why I wasn't hearing anything for the longest time, because the intro to it's a build up to the guitar. It goes on for fucking like a minute and a half and stuff. And you just hear the ambiance, you hear some keys and stuff in the background, you hear sounds, but I'm just like, what the fuck are we listening to? And it finally clicks in, and obviously you hear the guitar go and the chords go, and you're like, what the fuck? And then it kind of stops again, and then he hits it again, obviously, and he starts the song. But I just remember being so perplexed, and I was confused as to why a band would make that choice. Like, why would you draw this out so long? And why would it take you so long to deliver the whole band break, like bust in? Why would you do that? Like, why as an artist would you make that choice? I had no appreciation for setting stages or what have you, right? Or like atmosphere or anything like that. I had no appreciation for that whatsoever. I just wanted the don't bore us, get to the chorus kind of stuff, right? But yeah, it was on my list for sure. I thought about it. It's a fucking great pick. It's one of my favorite Floyd songs. It's funny, I haven't even talked about this, but once I got the new amp, I listened to a lot of Floyd, a lot of live Floyd for like the next like fucking week and a half or 2 weeks or so at night, just watching a lot of Floyd stuff and Rush stuff too and stuff, and just like to hear like crazy like sounds that going everywhere. But yeah, fucking great.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you have a hype sticker. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love the hype sticker. But yeah, I mean the end of the album though too, with the rest of the parts are fucking great too. But so it kind of feels weird to like cut it off in the middle, like I'm only choosing the first half, but it's just a fucking great album. But yeah, specifically for this parts 1 through 5, that's my choice.
There we go. Fair enough.
Like I said, I got about 5 more I pulled, but I'll save them. This would be a good part 2-er. Because like you said, there's a lot of bands that we did not discuss. I didn't mention Maiden, didn't talk about Queensryche, didn't talk about Typo, didn't talk about Rush. Like I
Pantera, Megadeth, Metallica.
Yeah, I consciously tried to pull other things. So, but anyways, guys, if you made it this far, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. What are some of your favorite opening tracks? We appreciate any and all interaction here with the channel. And we always end the episode with the choosing of a topic for next week's episode. So if you made it this far, you get the special treat, the insider information. And I've been kind of gearing up for this. So hopefully Tyler's ready. I know we almost did this like a few weeks ago, like a month ago, because Tyler misinterpreted. He misunderstood the topic. So maybe he already did some work for it. But we're going to time travel back 30 years ago. We're going to go back to wee little lads that we were. We're going back to 1993. And we're going to discuss some of our favorite albums of the year 1993. If you enjoy that kind of stuff, check out 2003. We already covered that. It was a really fun episode. And we'll do the same thing. We'll talk about kind of current events and sporting stuff and just kind of time travel a little bit back to the early 90s. And then we'll talk about some of our favorite records of that year. So hopefully you join us next week for that. But anyways, guys, we'll see you next time here on the Living Deadwax podcast. Peace.